The Fargo Five, I'm Conrad Fargo. We've got with us here today Cal Braun from Zagal Shrine. Hello, Cal.
Good morning. How are we doing today?
Fantastic. Cal, you and I have known each other for a while now.
Yeah.
Maybe 6, 7 years?
I would say, give or take.
I met you networking, like
Yes.
so many guests on the show.
Yes.
You're a big networker. You do that for your insurance company.
I do.
So you're also at Integrity First Insurance.
I am.
How long have you been there?
Well, actually, this month is my 10-year anniversary with them.
Wow.
But 22-ish in the business.
Yeah. But Integrity First, now that was your baby, right? Recently, I think you've taken a slightly different role, but you were one of the principals, or what was...
No, I've never been a principal in the business.
Okay.
I did have ownership in my portion of the book.
Oh, I see.
But at a certain point, well, actually a year ago, again, April 1st, we were acquired by a larger company, so here we are.
Okay, so ownership of the book, because you're in insurance.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people don't know much about insurance companies or what it's like to be an insurance agent. You said you've been doing that for 22 years?
Yep.
How did you even get started in doing something like that?
Kind of a weird scenario. I actually just, like a lot of things in life, I don't think very many people in the world say, hey, I'm going to be an insurance agent when I grow up. You know, in fact, there was not a curriculum for it for many, many years, but I did find out that they do, in certain areas of the country, offer a curriculum at higher education or college degree for insurance.
But you never went to school for that. You
No.
just the school of hard knocks.
Yep.
And how did you get into it? It was 22 years ago, so you were living in Fargo.
Yes.
So you had
I was.
already been living in Fargo.
Yep.
And what were you doing before you were an insurance agent?
Well, it's kind of funny because I was actually... I worked in a machine shop or in a job shop, and we built parts for other companies. And I was the guy that programmed the lathe and the
So you're like a CAD programming, or
Yep.
basically now that they teach in high school. They even teach that when I was in high school.
Yes.
So they still teach that one today.
Yep.
And that just wasn't working out for you, or how did you?
It was a pretty tough market. Obviously, everything in this area is ag related, and
I see.
what ultimately happened is at that point in life, my wife and I we met in college doing the same thing, and we ultimately got
The CAD work.
Yes.
So your wife does the CAD work as well.
She did.
Okay.
She's moved over to more inventory control at this point, but yes, she did. Designs and all the pretty pictures for building machines. For about, I suppose she did that 5 years, but she's going on, I think, 25 years with the same company right now.
So she would do the designs and really stay right on that mic here. You're kind of fading in and out.
Yep.
She would do the designs, then you would input them in. That's basically how that worked?
Well,
or did you guys work together?
We did not work together.
Oh, okay.
We actually worked for competing companies for a period of time.
I see.
But what ultimately happened is we got laid off because the ag market was really tough when we first started. And we got laid off collectively 3 times in less than 12 months. And so we made a determination that one of us had to do something different in order to be able to financially sustain life. So my brother-in-law was in insurance at the time, and he was actually in a recruiting role. And I really just asked him, what do we have to do this? And that's where it started.
And so the wife stayed in the industry.
Yep.
How did you guys meet? So this was 2002 abouts then when that happened?
It was 2000. It was 97 when we met.
Yeah.
And then it was...
in Fargo?
We met in Wapton, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And then moved to Fargo together. So because you're not born and raised in Fargo.
I am not. I'm from Dickinson
Dickinson.
originally. Yep.
That's really great.
Yeah.
What brought you to Fargo?
Well, my wife.
Yeah.
So we met in college.
Studying the same thing, the
Studying
CAD.
the same
so you
thing.
both went to college for CAD.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
And we actually met at North Dakota State College of Science, and we were in the same curriculum, and we ultimately just, we got along, and we ended up dating, and I mean, it was kind of a whirlwind. We met in about 95, I think, 96, and then we ended up just connecting up, and I guess we went from started dating in March of 97, and we were engaged by June, and we were married by the next October. So, and we've been together ever since.
And been together ever since. That's what a love story. Working the same stuff, you get laid off, you go do the insurance, and that's been going really well for you the last 22 years. What was Integrity First as far? So what was your first thing, and how did you get into an Integrity First? Like, what was the journey from there? Because Integrity First was kind of a big change, or is it more of a continuation of kind of the same?
It was a change, but a lot of the same. I mean, it's really a kind of a just different. It wasn't anything. I worked for a captive company for almost 13 years.
What does that mean, captive?
It means that you only work for one company.
I see.
The big names that you see out there that do all the advertising, a lot of those are captive companies.
You probably can't name them by name, but I like your Progressives, your
Progressive
State Farm,
technically is
or
not, but State Farm, American Family, Farmers,
I see.
Country, all of them, you write for one company and that's all you do. And
what are the advantages to something like that? I mean, why wouldn't you want as many companies as possible, right? You must get a better deal if you're beholden or captive?
I mean, the advantage is you get startup cash a lot of the time because they have programs for new agents, and then they put you through a training program, and you get you maybe get a little bit of subsidy at the time so you can sustain life while you're building your book of business and things like that. And you get the power of advertising, I suppose, because a lot of those companies spend a lot of marketing dollars. But you have only one company. So at that point, you have the ability. You don't have the ability to go out and find the right company for the right person.
And so is your brother or your cousin? I'm sorry. It's
my brother-in-law.
Your brother-in-law who had gotten you in, and he brought you into his company.
Yep.
And you stayed there for
almost 13
years.
Yep.
And when was it that you decided, you know what, it's time to do something different, do something, branch out, or how did that opportunity even present itself to you?
I had been thinking about it for a long time, just trying to figure it out because, that's the problem. You leave a lot on the table when you only really have one option.
Yeah.
Imagine as a realtor, you can only sell blue houses.
Yeah.
Not everybody likes a blue house.
Or even if I could only sell homes, and I am a realtor at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Premier Properties, but imagine if I could only sell homes at Berkshire Hathaway, right? Because I can sell in any brokerage.
Correct.
But I don't know that was always the case. In my day in the industry, it's always been the case that basically anybody can buy or sell anything. But if I couldn't, I mean, that would be really, really restrictive. So I can definitely, having it open to every product that's available so that you can sell it, it's going to make you a better salesperson, right?
100%.
Definitely. So, and I totally understand wanting to, you're looking at the field, even I can sell any house at anywhere. I'm keeping my eyes open at other brokerages and thinking, well, you're always wondering, is the grass greener on the other side? I think that's very natural. So I can imagine you were sitting there for a while and just kind of thinking and plotting, and then some opportunity presented itself. Or what is it that made you make the jump? Because why abandon what's already working, right? Why bite the hand that feeds you and jump to something new?
Yeah.
Something had to be the impetus. Something had to push you into that.
Yeah, I mean, the big problem is that there's a lot of things that you do that you just go in and you get your salary, and it's pretty easy to move from one company to another because you go in and you have the skills to do that current job or whatever it is, and so somebody else will pay you equal or better money in order to do the same thing. In our world, you build a book of business and you get paid based on what you build. So I call it the golden handcuffs, so to speak, because you kind of get where you don't move as a result of you're pretty comfortable, and it's pretty hard to go back to ramen noodles and rice when you're used to making a decent wage or decent commission.
Well, in insurance agents, you almost have, so like when I do real estate, I work with somebody, I don't get paid, only when things close we get paid, and then that's the end of the deal and the end of the relationship, and that has its own dynamics and creates its own challenges and its own rewards. In insurance, you almost have a once you kind of sign somebody, of course, you're doing work to maintain that relationship,
Yep.
and you're keeping touch with them. But there's probably a lot more work on the front end than there is on the back side. But you have recurring, or how would you describe that? Residual? Or how
Residual
would you-
income.
yeah.
I mean, you get renewals every time that client is happy with the work you're doing for them, and
Yeah.
they renew their policy. You get paid again.
And I don't think most people realize that. I don't
Yeah.
until I got into real estate and I started meeting other networkers and seeing the world of sales. I mean, that's technically what we are as salespeople, right? I never knew that about insurance, and I think that's kind of unique. Are there a lot of other industries, maybe financial planners, right?
Yep.
Do they also get
In
residual?
the financial world, they do that as well. They get part of the, they probably, their pay structure's a little different. They end up getting residuals based on the internal fees that are inside of a product. And so, their sales are their commissions are a little different as a result of that. Ours, we get a certain percentage based on what the agreement is with a company every single time somebody renews until they don't. And then when they don't, that's the time when it moves on to,
So when you did Integrity First, you were basically just buying. Somebody else had already set up a book of business with residuals, and then you bought that, or what is it that you
I started
bought into?
over.
Oh wow!
You basically that's the whole thing. When you're with a company and you decide to make a shift, and this isn't 100% true. Some agencies do pay salaries and such and smaller commissions, but so I mean you can make that shift, but you're ultimately probably going to make better money overall if you build that book from scratch. So I basically started completely over.
Wow!
And I built a book twice.
Wow.
And so, I mean, that's why people stay in something that they might not be 100% happy with in the
starting over with a whole new book. So, and you couldn't bring your client list over because those belonged to the.
Yep, technically, yes. And I mean, at the end of the day,
if they know you personally, though, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing people don't really think about, or companies don't realize, is that it doesn't matter what the shingle says on the door as far as a company name.
Yeah.
It's the person they're working with that matters.
Well, at least
in that transaction.
in this day and age, yeah. I don't know if it's always been that way, but
I would say it has.
Yeah. Okay. And then, where does the Shrine fit into all that? How long have you been a Shriner?
Well, I've been a Shriner since 2017.
Okay. So you were in the middle of building that book of business.
Yep.
And you said, let's do some networking, or what inspired you to join?
Well, it was through networking that I got involved with the Shrine. So I was in a group, and one of the guys was a Shriner, and he had an event they had an event going on, and I ended up wanting to attend that event. And basically, a friend of mine and I said, hey, should we do this? And I mean, it was a good deal to go to this event. So we went, and he signed up right away and joined, and I didn't. Just had reservations over some things, and there's some backstory that we're not really going to talk about. But ultimately, I ended up a couple years later, because he joined in 15, that was when the event was, and then I joined in 17, and it just turned out that, when you're in with charity is a funny thing, anytime that you do any charity kind of work, you always have the doers and the dues payers, and you have everything in between, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I didn't want to start something and not be able to commit a lot of time to it, and so I was still kind of in the beginning stages or middle stages of rebuilding my book, and so at that point I felt it was right, and so I joined, and then I said, I'm not going to do a lot with this. And then, of course, apparently I lied to myself, and I jumped in with both feet, and I've been going ever since.
Shrine's a big part of your life.
It's a huge part of my life.
And you and I do a lot of networking and almost like mastermind work together. So we talk about running businesses and time management stuff all the time. Did you ever, I always encourage you to track time. Did you ever start tracking your time at the Shrine? Do you have any idea?
I mean, it's
It's got to be
pretty much every waking minute outside of work and some family stuff was pretty much dedicated to Shrine.
When you've got a lot of passion for them, that's what we're going to talk about next. So now I got to really work because I don't have music breaks. I told you I'm switching up the format a little bit. We're just going to play some intermission music, just so that I can sit down for 30 seconds and just breathe, because I got to stand. I can't do the show sitting. I know that.
All right.
But I got to take like 30 seconds and sit. So we're going to do that. When we come back, we're going to talk Fargo fun. So don't go nowhere.